Alright, we are tackling stage 12 in the version 2.0 Memory of Chaos, the Dreamland of Longing, using 4-star characters. The teams are going to be Chinchua, Tingyan, Pella, and Lynx for Team 1, and Team 2 is going to be Don Hong, Asta, Gwenevin, and March 7th. I am running Chinchua for Team 1 just because she's a really powerful DPS in this Memory of Chaos with the 50% attack boost, but I do think replacing her with Serval is plenty viable if you have a team focused around that. Tingyan, I'd say, is probably one of the better supports, especially for Chinchua, and then Pella just helps upkeep the Pioneer debuff stack since I am running Pioneer since my Quantum set isn't strong enough to make up for the difference. And then I am running Lynx just because she's a good enough sustain for this battle, and the Cleanse on command is very useful. For Team 2, Don Hong is probably one of the better DPS. You could definitely go like a DOT team with like maybe Hook. And then if you want to include 5 stars, Dr. Ratio is a good free-to-play option. For Asta, she just helps with the speed and getting more turbulent stacks, which does increase her DPS, especially when there's just a single boss in the second half of the battle. Gwenevin helps out with the Pioneer set, which Don Hong is running, and is a good sub-DPS. Then March 7th is pretty great here, because her freeze is plenty viable, and there's not a lot of outgoing damage, so her sustain is good enough. Anyways, without further ado, let's just start the battle. We pretty much just use all of our techniques, except Chinchua's, because we do want as many stacks of her skill as possible, and using her technique here kind of sabotages that. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to use Tingyan's ult immediately because our turns aren't pushed up to like 0, so we do actually advance all of our actions by a pretty significant degree. And okay, yeah, we're just gonna use the ult. No point in wasting a skill point if we're not gonna get a damage boost out of it since we're already capped. And this is gonna be a pretty good first turn. The little television on the side there, you can take advantage of it. I don't really get a lot of benefit out of it, because the ults for this team aren't super important, so I don't really mind killing it there. But basically, you just want to make sure it doesn't reduce your energy, which is basically hitting it so it stays happy. We do want to push this boss into Sanction mode, since that does summon these Illumination Dragonfish, which both inflict a defense reduction, which means we can just deal more damage to the Searing Prowler. And since it's isolated, it's taking the full brunt of the Memory of Turbulence buff. If you had a little bit more damage, actually no. If you had a lot more damage, you could have killed him in turn 1, and it does suck that we missed our enhanced basic there. Missing our enhanced basic there basically means we're going to lose a turn since we're going to start out with a full hand, which means we don't get any attack buffs. We're going to focus Gepard here just because he's a little bit more annoying. And you do have to watch out for Gepard's first turn here, since if it hits the same unit twice, it is definitely more than capable of killing that unit, because more or less his 2 hits do a combined total of like 3k damage, which pretty much everyone but Lynx is below. And yeah, you just have to be careful of it, so saving your Lynx ult to weave between that is very useful. We do save Pella's ult until he throws that shield up, just so that we can shred it off all the enemies. And yeah, we're just gonna continue focusing him. Yeah, we got our follow up, which is nice, and 3 stacks, which means we'll get a pretty powerful ult off. Since the turbulence only buff, missed the crit twice there. That sucks. But yeah, since the buff or the memory turbulence buff only buffs the basic attacks, Chinchua doesn't get the 50% boost to her follow-ups and her ult, so they will be hitting a lot lower than her first basic attack buff. But we can push past Gepard's first turn, and 4 skill points, we're more or less guaranteed to get that. We do have her ult, so we are guaranteed to get our next enhanced basic, so we don't have to save skill points as much, so we can afford to use that to heal. Every 3 turns, Gepard uses a giant AoE, and you just want to make sure that you can tank it. And then every 3 turns, the Searing Prowler also uses this buff, and this buff will persist until its weakness broken. And basically what the buff does is it gives him a massive speed boost, and also on his first turn with the buff will unleash a massive AoE, so you have to be very careful of it. If you are in the position to weakness breaking it will push it immediately out of that buff, and you can avoid a lot of damage. We have 3 of the same suit right now, so yeah, not expecting a lot out of that. Would have been nice if we could have gotten the follow-up, but that'll blow enough, and we have another turn, so we might be able to get it. We should heal up, because this AoE could really hurt Tingyan. And yeah, we'll have 2 skill points, so we are definitely gambling this quite a bit, but we might be able to get it. Oh, alright. Follow up and enhanced base, that's great. Okay, fantastic. And we even had our ult, so we could have made up for it if we were lacking a little bit of damage at the end there. We're going to use Asa's technique here, just because it will allow us to ult turn 1 when we use her skill, which just means that we get the speed up immediately, because her speed boost is very valuable here. Basically, you just want to make sure both bosses always have Gwyneth's burn on, because it does stack up Fire Kiss and also does some pretty decent damage over time. This will give Dan Heng the buff, so he will use a pretty powerful skill here, and we are focusing the Shapeshifter, because the lifesteal is very annoying, especially when you don't have a unit like Pella or Luca to deal with it. I'll just ult now, because there's no point in overcapping ult energy. And we want to save March 7th's ultimate to weave in between the Shapeshifter's attacks, because the second attack is pretty much going to fully heal it for all the damage we've dealt so far. And we just want to make sure it doesn't get that action. We might as well just use a skill here to get our ult a little bit quicker. And we'll get the burn back on the Trampler, because we don't want to lose Fire Kiss. And it's just more damage over time. Gwyneth is more than capable of killing the minions, but it's definitely a question of, can you afford to use a skill points to hit both minions? And yeah, for the most part, it's pretty hard to justify it unless the Memory of Turbulence already killed 1 minion from the previous turn. Get another speed boost here, and we might as well just flick more burn, and Dan Heng will move at the end, so we might be able to kill here with his ult. Unfortunately, no passive, so we do... Ooh. That hurts. That hurts a lot. It's dead to damage over time, so we don't need to focus it, but would have been nice for all that turbulence to hit the remaining Trampler boss who actually has HP. Okay. Well, we'll just focus the Trampler, use as many skills as we can this turn to stack up turbulence to deal as much percent HP damage as possible. We can? Yeah, we can move Dan Heng up to this cycle, and also get him a pretty powerful skill off with his passive. We do want to try to finish it off this cycle. We are going to get Dan Heng's ultimate, which will help with that. And then just get as much turbulence as you can here, because going into the next boss, you want as many turbulence stacks as possible to deal as much damage in the first cycle. The truth of life is sanctuary is but a vision. Actually, maybe I used it a little prematurely. Probably could have farmed a little bit more energy and turbulence. So that would be my advice, to wait till the end of the cycle to use that ult if you had it there. We're gonna shred its toughness bar a little bit and get our speed up here. No point in using Gwyneth's ult right now because it doesn't have any burns. So it's really gonna do absolutely nothing except shred. Ooh, that's a lucky freeze. But yeah, absolutely nothing except shred its toughness bar. So we do actually want burns here. Actually, we probably should have waited until we used Asta's basic attack. Since yeah, we did get a stack of burn there, and that would have just been 2 stacks of Fire Kiss. So yeah, that's one thing we could have optimized. A little unfortunate, but whatever. And that is 7 stacks of turbulence, which is a pretty decent amount. if we optimized our last turn in the previous cycle, we could have easily gotten 10 stacks, which would have brought this boss like below 20% or 30% even. Yeah, we just have to whittle it away as quickly as possible. I don't think I have the damage to do it this cycle, so probably the next cycle. Also, there's no point in saving up your ultimates here, because your ultimates do fully refresh when the boss changes cycles. It does have a reason for doing that, but for the most part, it just benefits us. Okay, that's great. So the boss is going to refresh all of our ultimates. I don't mind March 7th being trapped here, and I don't mind Don Hong being trapped either, because when boss uses the instant kill, when you recover your unit will actually fully regenerate its energy. So if we can kill the thing fast enough, we won't lose out on too much DPS. And I am saving up Gwyneth's ultimate for when it summons its little minions. So now we can just blow up the minions here. We'll focus on Don Hong's for now, because we do want to free him as quickly as possible. We'll get a little speed boost out. And surprisingly, that does actually still affect Don Hong, even though he's trapped there, so we do get his passive. And now we can just get another passive boosted ult off. And now we... Oh yeah, and those things do actually take damage from DOT, which is why damage over time is very useful against this boss. Because it can just make its instant kill thing pretty much null, and it more or less benefits you. We do want to try to get as much turbulence as we can here, but it'll be a little difficult. I kind of want to weakness strike him with the skill here, just because it used that buff, and I don't want to tank that. We do lose out on a little bit of damage, but we'll live. 28% is definitely achievable, especially since we have Don Hong's passive. Okay, we get this immediate speed boost. Freezing most likely won't do anything. I don't even think it'll move this cycle, but we might be able to reduce a damage. Not really much. Okay, 17%, but we do still get another action from Don Hong. We are cutting it a little close here, but I do think we'll be able to achieve it. We do get an ult from Gwyneth, which will detonate the burns, and the boss will still take burn damage, which will be another 4-ish% of its health, so I think we're pretty safe here. Because, yeah, even if that didn't kill, we had a lot of damage over time. Overall, not a terrible run. I would have preferred it if we had a little bit more time to spare at the end, but it wasn't terrible. Whoops, I forgot to go over the characters, so let's go over that real quickly. For Chinchua, I am running today as another peaceful day. It is at 3 limit breaks, so it is pretty comparable to Seriousness at Breakfast, just a little bit more powerful. If it was at 5 limit breaks, there'd be a lot more of a gap there. But yeah, the extra little bit of damage boost just helps out a lot. And I am running the Pioneer set just because it is a lot better than my Quantum set in terms of substats. I think I'm getting about 40% more crit damage at a similar amount of crit rate. And then that's also, you have to consider the 4-piece set. If you had a Quantum set at the same amounts, then it would probably be better, because 10% defense penetration on all enemies is pretty useful for a character that provides a lot of her own attack and damage percent buffs. And then all the characters are E6. There's not a lot to go over for the other characters, so I'll just show off the relics real quick. Pella, I did run Resolution just to help out with getting 3 stacks for the Pioneer set to maximize Chinchua's damage. And then I tried to get Broken Keel on as many characters as I could, just to help increase the crit damage a little bit more. Lynx does have the Penacony set because I did run out of Broken Keel sets, and I do have a Quantum main DPS, so it's not much of a damage loss. Don Hong's another character I wanted to go over a little bit more. I am running Cruising in the Stellar Sea, mostly because if I didn't, my crit rate would be at like 53%. So it just helps out in that regard, and then has pretty good base stats. And occasionally you get the attack boost, but it's not super useful, especially when you're facing something unto death who's just a single enemy. But yeah, the crit rate's just very useful, since unfortunately I did not get a lot of great crit rate substats here. Oh, and I did run Pioneer on Donghong, which is a change up from previous runs, because it's probably the best set on him now, because he does inflict his own debuff through slow, so he does benefit from doubling the crit rate and the crit damage of the 4-piece. Also, I have Mesh and Cogs just because it helps with her ult uptime, especially since I'm running Glamoth on Donghong, so I want her ult up as often as possible. And it also does benefit his passive, since it's one of the few things that trigger it in this team. I'm running Gwenevin as a sub DPS because she does bring a lot of damage through damage over time, and yeah, just having her as a sub DPS is optimal. March 7th, nothing fancy. I do have her on the Penacony set just because I again ran out of broken keel sets. I have it on a few characters, but could definitely be more characters. And she just has a pretty decent Glamoth sphere. And yeah, the energy rate is mainly why I ran it over broken keel, because I just ran out of energy percent broken keel sets. Anyways, that is the end of this video.